Well, the citrus for us is somewhat of a new product. We've got the herbs and the vegetables branching out into berries. We've got added the citrus as well. And the citrus has been a very nice addition with the fact that they're a very, very hardy plant. They absolutely love the summertime. Outside, you keep up the water, fertilize them once a month in a container, and they're very, very easy. They grow very, very quickly. This is about a year's worth of growth from this one to that one. So this is one of the larger ones we sell. We have a smaller 8-inch size as well. But I wanted to show you just quickly on the watering for inside. Inside, they're a nice green kind of plant, so that nice bushy habit takes up a nice space. A bit of a focal point, but not too much in the way. Some of them that we have left to sell have the fruit. Some have new blooms, so they're coming out. But as far as the watering goes, that's about the easiest way to kill them inside, being that the top dries out very quickly. So on the top, even if it's inside and not in like the house, but somewhere that kind of stays a little warm. So what you're after is a good amount of sunlight. And on the watering side, you don't want to be over watering. So what does that actually look like though? So on the top will dry out fairly quickly. Sometimes though, for it to dry out all the way down to the bottom, takes about 8 weeks. There's a little building at the farm here that we housed some in last year, just to test very low light, and only watered them every 8 weeks, kept all the foliage. They really don't grow through the winter time. But as far as the fruit, that's a little bit of a different kind of ball game. So I'll get to that in just a moment. But if it's just all leaves, just foliage in the house through the winter time, you're really monitoring it, and you want it to dry out all the way down the bottom. So here it's dried out quite nicely on top, but you can see the color change and the tone change as it goes down to the bottom of the pot. And being that the roots are all the way down the bottom, you don't need to water it so it's wet thoroughly down. It will dry down, and the plant will continue to receive the water until the water is exhausted as it's dried all the way down. So again, that really does take some doing. Being that they're inside in a container, it really does take a long time for them to dry out all the way down. And then the nice thing with the plastic pot or this kind of shape to it is that you can pull it out to check it. And that's what we would do. We would just pull it out, check to see where the moisture's at, and check around. And again, only water if it was thoroughly dry all the way down. Now, being that this has fruit and that have blooms that the fruit will mature off, you don't want it to dry out quite as drastically as that, but you do want it to dry. All plants love dry to wet, and the quicker that cycle happens, the healthier they are. And what I mean by that is from completely watered to thoroughly dried out, the quicker that cycle happens, the healthier they're going to be. Outside, you want stuff to grow, so that cycle is going to be quick. Outside on these plants, we'll water them at least once a week, if not twice a week. But once you come inside, things don't really grow anymore. They just kind of sustain and hang around. So with that in mind, the water needs are drastically different. But back to a citrus plant inside with fruit on it. So if it has the fruit on it, you want it to dry out about halfway to 2/3 and then water it again. If you let it dry out all the way down to the bottom and be completely dry, that's when you run the risk of it dropping the fruit. When it gets stressed, the blooms and the fruit are the first things to drop. So again, with fruit on inside, you want it to dry out about half to 2/3. So this part down the bottom there to still be moist, and then go ahead and water it again. And maybe a few cups, 3 to 4 cups of water, and then pop it out of the container and see how much the water has absorbed in, and water it again if you feel like you need to. To give you an idea, last Thanksgiving we had a couple of warm days where we had rain. So for those days that were above 40 degrees, we just set them out, let it rain on the plant, and then took it back inside once it was done. Finished product. So as the plant grows each year, you're pruning, you're getting a lot more fruit off it. Quite prolific, really, once it gets to that kind of 2 to 3 foot size around. And the lemons and the limes that you get off it are regular full size. And once they get quite large like that too, they pretty much have fruit on them year round. It does come in spurts, kind of that spring bloom out, and then the fall kind of harvest is the mainstay. But this one here has the main fruits that it's been growing this year, and then it's just recently thrown out some blooms, and we've got some little fruits just starting on it as well. So, and they'll rebloom again in February, March, and continue that cycle on. Last thing to finish up with is up potting. So when you have them in this size, this is a 10-inch size pot here, you see this root development on there. This is quite happy and healthy in this size, and being that it's now September, just about to bring them inside in a month, it's really not a good idea to up pot them, being that that new dirt is really just going to hold the moisture that the plant is not going to use up, and you run the risk of the roots rotting. So this size is perfect. This matting that you see, root growth, that does not have the matting and the circling and the really thick root growth down the bottom that's showing it's pot bound. This is quite happy and healthy. You will up pot that May or June of next year, and you'll go from this 10-inch size pot into about a 12-inch, so just an inch on either side, an inch or two deeper. The slower you step it up, the quicker it will fill the roots out through that and continue on that productive cycle. Instead of putting it in something quite a bit larger with just a lot of soil that doesn't have roots and won't have roots for quite a while, it doesn't really encourage the plant to really take off growing. It more so runs the risk of having that soil just sit damp because the plant's not using that moisture. So when you up pot it slowly, and the more regularly you do it, the better off. The 8-inch size, which this has come from, was last year, 10-inch this year, 12-inch next year. About a 14 to a 16 to an 18-inch pot is eventually the size you'll just leave it in permanently. So we have a citrus growing class, so get you ready for pruning them to bring inside, what to expect inside, and then when to put them out next year. That's free. That's at 3 o'clock on Saturday, September 21st for our open house. Great time to come on out and see everything else as well. We look forward to seeing you at the farm.